decades. With physical clinics and remote online appointments, we're here to help you make informed decisions about your gambling. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com so we can work together to help you win back your life. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Brought to you by the Tennessee Gambling Clinic, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the show. I'm going to dispense with the normal stuff that we do at the very beginning. As all of you know, the Nashville sports community has lost an incredible human being with the passing yesterday of a former Titan assistant coach and later their color analyst, Dave McGinnis. As I have said to people, Dave McGinnis is Terry Crisp 2.0, because if you didn't like Dave McGinnis, you're the problem, not Dave. The man who brought him to Nashville joins us by phone. That is former Titans head coach Jeff Fisher, who I have promised we will have out of here by 3:15 because he's got a lot of AFL duties to take care of. Jeff, I cannot say thank you enough that you would take the time to come on.
Well, you know, George, nobody put it better than you did just a moment ago. In fact, this sports community lost a great one, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I will take every opportunity that I get to talk about Coach Mack. Yeah, it's been a rough 24 hours, and you know, the outpouring and the amount of support and sympathy and just love, and you know that I'm getting from all over the place, and you are too. I mean, everybody's just kind of exchanging memories and thoughts, and just kind of, I mean, we're moving into that celebration of his life period now, and yeah, he was a good one. I mean, he was one of the all-time, and you know, I was just honored to be a friend of his and a colleague, and in a lot of ways he was a brother. You know, we did so much together, and you know, when you got a guy that you spent decades with, you know, following his career before we eventually hooked up. I think it was in 2004, but and then, you know, for 20 years, just being as close as you possibly can to somebody. It's, you know, it's hard to take, but it's life, and you know, we've been blessed with his presence, and you know, the memories. I mean, the memories are just. I mean, it's, you know, someone once said the memories last forever. They do, but just the memories that you and I share with him on all those dinners and everything. I mean, he was just there, and you know, he was a part of everybody's life. He stood for everything that was right. You know, I said this a little bit earlier, and I said it numerous times. I mean, you know, philosophically, Mac understood, and it was our philosophy, you know, collectively, that, you know, whoever you come across in the building, okay, no one's job is less important or more important than anyone else. And he treated everybody that way in the building, players, staff, anybody and everybody. Was just he just treated them with respect. And you know, even before, you know, his passing yesterday, over the last couple of weeks, that was the one common thread from people that I spoke with. So many people came to visit with him, you know, while he was in those final weeks. And we had hope. We had hope there for quite some time, and it kind of came as a surprise. But so many people came to see him. Just decades of relationships. I mean, dating back to his head coaching opportunity, with the Cardinals. I mean, Aeneas Williams, and I mean the list goes on and on. And so, and then we had he kind of stepped away from, the Titan organization with me for, 5 years with the Rams. And that was a whole new family that have been reaching out, and so he just touched so many lives. And, just the amount of text and calls and things I've gotten, and they're indicative of the life that he led and the way he was, what kind of human being he was. So I just, I appreciate the opportunity to share, and we're going to continue with it too. This is not something that's going to go by. Mac's his legacy is going to last. We're going to do some things and his memory here in Nashville. And, the outpouring, the respect, hard to imagine anybody sharing their thoughts and prayers and feelings any better than the whole Titans organization did, starting with Amy. And so he meant a lot. He impacted a lot of people. And immediately after his career change, you got to see a different Mac. All of a sudden, you got to see Mac Daddy that's going to shed some light, interesting perspectives on the game, So, I mean, that's
right.
what he did. And so anyway, he was a fighter. I had numerous conversations with him, as many, many people did. Rhett, from the Titans Network was there, spent so many nights with him. And, and everybody else that came in, former Titan employees. I mean, Don Mosley, Don was there every day, for 6 weeks with him. And so when people gravitate to you, under those circumstances and stop their lives and what they're doing to try to encourage you to fight and hope and pray daily, bedside, that you're going to pull through this, you've touched a lot of people's lives.
Jeff, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Last night at the Preds game, I probably had 10 people come up to me that know where I sit who wanted to talk about him. And the thing that hit me about him was we all wish that we were all this way, but this man had the ability to make every person that he ever came in contact with special. And that's what we all love about him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to describe him. Yeah, it just makes you feel special. I mean, that's how he was. If it was a 3 or 4 year old, he'd bend over and high five him and love him, and then 2 years later he'd remember his name or her. And that's just the way he was. And he did so many things that have been brought to my attention here over the last few weeks that a normal person would draw attention to, but not Mac. Mac was just, it was an effort to help somebody through a tough time. It was no one else's business. And guess what? He got so many people through, difficult times. I mean, there's always things that come up in life that are hard. And Mac he's such a good listener, and that's the thing about Mac. And the thing that I think we miss nowadays is his patience and his focus. I didn't wander when you were talking to him. He never looked down at a device, a phone or anything. He was locked in and listening, and always ended the conversation with some kind of encouraging advice. And so, what, in the NFL, as a head coach, oftentimes, and this is a message to the head coach of the future, and even those that are there now, that office down the hall can get kind of crazy. And sometimes the door's shut, and I don't want to call it lonely, but it's just like you need your time. You need to get organized. You need to figure it out, because you've had all these best laid plans for the day. And then, the day starts, and 20 minutes into it, everything changes. something comes up, something happens. And Mac was always that one who would say, "Hey, Fish, need anything? I got you. Can I help you with anything?" And then he was the one that understood how important it was to keep the guy at the end of the hall informed. And, he would never just assume anything was taken care of. He would, if he couldn't take care of it himself, he would go to the right person. A lot of times it was the head coach, and he'd say, "Hey, we need to do this. And, I don't want this to go on any longer. And hey, we got, be aware of this and be aware of that." And on top of that, I mean, he was really good in the headset, as you can imagine, during games.
Yeah.
And so he just, and you think about the players that he had access to. Coaching, could you imagine getting your first coaching job in the NFL and stepping in and coaching Mike Singletary after the 85 and coaching that defense? Holy moly.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm going to tell the story later of maybe the best story that ever got told at the McLean dinners. I want to ask you one last personal thing. And look, I know you got to get out of here, so try to answer this in about a minute and a half or 2 minutes. You were very close with Mike Heimerdinger. When he passed away, did Dave McGinnis kind of become Heimerdinger too for you?
Well, I would say, yeah, in a lot of ways. The friendships, and I have so many friendships, that are ongoing with former assistants and so on and so forth. I mean, when you're together that long and, you go through what you go through as coaches, you can't help but, develop, the friendship thing. But, Mac and Dinger were different. I was very, very close with Dinger, and I appreciate you bringing that up. But Mac and Dinger were different. But yeah, I mean, Dinger was there to help. And, Mac, the difference is Mac would walk in and he'd kind of peek in the office and he goes, "Hey, Fish, you good?" And I go, "Yeah, come on in." And Dinger wouldn't just open the door, he'd kick it down, You know how it was. You kick it down, you come in there red faced and screaming, yelling, and then take me a minute to settle him down. But, after a minute with Dinger and 5 seconds with Mac, yeah, you got the same guy there. Yeah, appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, I'll say it this way again as we end this. Dave McGinnis, Terry Crisp, two people that their organizations benefited from so much in the world of friend making, because anybody Dave McGinnis came in contact with became a friend, period. Jeff, I can't thank you enough. I know you got stuff to do. Thanks for sharing some memories.
I appreciate the opportunity. Let's do it again soon.
I would look forward to that. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you.
That's former Titans coach Jeff Fisher. Let me bring Kelly Holcomb into this very quickly, because Kelly, I don't think you ever played for Dave, but you knew the
played against him. Yeah, I played against him when he was a head coach at the Arizona Cardinals. We got the best of him that day. I was hot that day. Let's just put it that way. And I was, but just listening to him on the radio, just listening to Coach Fisher right there, you can tell that he was a guy that enjoyed the game, but he enjoyed people. That's what, even when we're talking about professional sports, it's about relationships. And I think Coach McGinnis was a guy who loved relationships, loved being part of people's lives. And when Coach Fisher says, well, he would always come by his office and said, "Hey, Fish, is there anything I can do? Is there anything you need?" Because he was a head coach. He'd been a head coach. He'd been the game. Anybody that stays in the National Football League, George, for 31 years, you've done something right. And you're a very good coach. And that's what I didn't know if you were going to come to me, but that's what I was going to ask Coach Fisher about, like what brought him to you, because nice guys don't make great coaches, but what lured Jeff to hire Coach McGinnis Was his football knowledge? What what was it about him that you like? But yeah, when I heard that yesterday, I even asked you this morning. I had no clue that he was sick. And when something like that happens, man, it truly sucks because it's going to happen to all of us. But things that kind of happen unexpected like that, and I don't know his health situation, but just listening to everybody talk about him and all the people that reached out to Jeff and reached out to the Titan organization, you obviously know that Dave McGinnis was a great human being and people loved him.
Yeah. Parker, I know, or at least I don't think you ever came in contact with Dave McGinnis, but I'm going to tell the story that may be the best story, and I've told it before. We did what we called the McLean dinners for about 10 years for the Charles Davis Foundation. We raised a lot of money, and Charles was nice enough. Some of the stuff that's back there that makes it look like I won something athletically, Kelly knows I never won a damn thing athletically, but there's some really nice stuff that the Charles Davis Foundation gave me. So these McLean dinners added a lot of money to the foundation, and they were a no holds barred, dinner. People paid $300 for wine and dinner. And then before social media hit, the ability to keep it all in house. Dave McGinnis was a great storyteller. And I don't know how it happened, but he told this story of 1987. The NFL goes on strike and they have replacement players. And the NFL made what I thought was a dumb decision. And they allowed, first of all, they shouldn't have done replacement players. The Bears were one of the teams, and Dave McGinnis was on the Bears staff, that really had their stuff together. And they had better replacement players than most everybody else. And they went 3-0. Strike ends 3 weeks later. Ditka, the head coach, has a team meeting in which he says something to the effect of, guys, without this group, we wouldn't get in the playoffs. I want you all to consider voting them some playoff money. Okay, it's like a scene out of A Few Good Men. The players get in a room and they make the decision, not no, but hell no. Nobody's getting any money. So if I remember correctly, Coach, we've reached a verdict. Okay. Who is your spokesman? I think it was Singletary who said, we have voted that they will not get any money. And Ditka slams his hand on the table and says something to the effect of, I don't give a damn what you all have decided. They're getting some money. Well, the problem is that when he banged his hand on the table, I think Dave said he broke it. And he was writhing in pain. Players are trying not to laugh because they don't want to catch this man's wrath. Dave took about 20 minutes to embellish that story. He loved the McLean dinners. He was one of the rock stars in it. And man, I am going to miss him. You talk about a damn good human being, one of the best God ever put on this earth, because he had the ability, he had the quality that every last person he ran into, he made feel special. We all act like we do that when in truth, we don't. Dave McGinnis did.
Takes a special person to do stuff like that, man. There's people that you run into in this life that when you meet them, they make you feel like you're everything. They center, they focus on you, and it's pretty awesome. And that's a gift that God gave him. And, like I said, just hearing all the stories, just hearing Jeff talk about it, you talk about it, George, he was an unbelievable guy. He truly was. And like you said, there's a lot of people that's going to miss him.
I've never had the chance to speak to him too in depth, but I've stood next to him at a lot of practices. And George, you hit the nail on the head. If you didn't like Coach Mack, you were the problem.
Absolutely. You know, when he got fired in Arizona, and it was a firing that was completely undeserved. And I remember I asked him about it. The story was that he had a couple of days later a dinner at his house for the media to thank him. How many people would do that? I mean, that was Dave McGinnis. And I remember when I first met him, I was like, is that story really true? Because I'd heard all the great stuff about him. It turned out he was even better than advertised. And we'll talk about him some more during the show. Parker, I guess it's fair to say that we don't need an update, but is there any one story that we need to know about?
It's hard to follow up what we just talked about, but pretty big news, I guess, in the college football world. Iowa has had some wins vacated, which we all know means pretty much nothing because you're not going to erase everyone's memory of what happened. Basically, they had some tampering allegations, some phone calls and stuff. I haven't looked too much into the weeds on that.
So we're getting a team on tampering. Boy, it must have been bad.
And Iowa,
ain't one of them out there not doing it.
No. And you would think that would translate into a few more wins for Iowa if that's the case.
Maybe better offense.
Tampering with quarterback Caden McNamara before he entered the portal.
Oh, okay.
So
there you go.
It was a biggie. For those who say our school doesn't tamper, go right ahead and cast the first stone.
Do it.
I will say this. Try as I tried hard last night to sort of enjoy the Predator game. I could not get Dave McGinnis off my mind. Partly, a bunch of people kept coming up to me to want to talk about him. But even before then, just hearing it in the parking lot of the football stadium where I park, man, we are going to miss this guy. I know we need to go to the break. Tony Basilio will join us from Knoxville shortly on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank & Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank & Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
I'm just talking Tennessee. Girl, don't blame me if
We are back on this Tuesday afternoon. Parker, you got to help me. Is Tony in?
There he is.
In. Wow. Okay. Let's check out. Oh, yeah. So the Philadelphia Flyers have made it to the playoffs, and they will get the Pittsburgh Penguins in kind of an whatever the word is, state rivalry that ought to be a really cool series. So I don't blame you for being fired up.
I'm fired up. That's what we call it. But
Nice.
man, I'm sorry to hear about Coach Mack. That's sad stuff, George. I know he's one of your guys and just a great fixture in that community. And to hear Kelly and all those tributes and what people say, that's the real measure of a man.
Yeah. It's you ever see the thing on NFL Network, A Football Life? It's time for them to do one on Dave.
Yeah.
So I participated a little bit last night in what felt like a funeral, the Preds not being able to win. I know how special playoff hockey is. So in Philly, what's going to be the reaction? Because it's been a while.
George, they haven't been there in 10 years, man. I mean, like, they went there in the COVID time, but before that, it was a couple years before that. So really like 8 or 9 years. And that's such a tradition-rich place, with that sport. First, after you had the original 6, they were one of the expansion teams born the same year I was, 1966, 67. And it's just kind of remarkable. The sport of hockey, it's hard to make the playoffs in that sport. Only 8 get in from each conference, and 8 don't. And teams fight like crazy to get there. As you know, the crazy thing is the Preds looked 2 weeks ago, George, like they were a shoo-in.
Yeah.
Literally a shoo-in.
So
just remarkable.
Help me to understand this, because I've spent probably the last month to 6 weeks, and these guys have probably gotten sick of it, participating in what I call a pennant race. Yeah. Every game matters. You watch the road games. You go to the home games. You live and die with it a little bit. And a lot of people were like, George, what do you care? They're going to get smoked by Colorado. And I was like, I'm just getting playoff hockey is the best thing in sports. And 20 years ago, I didn't believe that.
A goof like Kelly would never understand that. But it is, when you go live and you live on every shift, and those guys are out there 45 seconds at a time, but in playoff, you'll see guys double and triple shifts when it matters. I remember when the Preds in 2017 were going for it, George, and those guys showed such great resolve. Here's the thing about it. If you just get into that tournament, anything can happen. 8s beat 1s. Used to, back then, they had them ranked 1 through 8. Now you have to work your way through your division in those first couple rounds, which creates a whole new level of intrigue because you're dealing with people that are in your general vicinity. But it's a great tournament. I mean, it means so much to me. I just can't even describe to you. My first sporting event I ever went to was a Flyers game. They played the Atlanta Flames. The Flyers won 7-2. I can still vividly see things from that game like it was yesterday.
Wow, I love it. What level are there many Preds fans in Knoxville?
Oh yeah, I wear Preds stuff out sometimes, like when I'm walking in the park or playing music in the park or playing music out. And yeah, there are a bunch of Preds fans here. And George, a lot of them were minted when they had their playoff run. That's when you gain That was incredible, guys. All those people standing outside. Kelly Holcomb 10 years ago outside Bridgestone because he couldn't get in. And
I'm
standing
in
out
there
there
all the
with the
time.
people.
I'm in there all the time, Tony. I'm in the Sports Hall of Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame down there, Hoss.
Well, I know you're in there all the time, but back then,
Don't
you
be
walked.
a hater, Tony.
No. I know you walked up to one of the
You're
guys
drinking
and said, "Hey, I'm in
haterade
there,"
today.
and they said, "No, you're outside tonight." You said, "No, I'm in there on the wall." They said, "No, you're outside tonight."
Let me
live in there, Tony.
Tony, let me recreate that. Mr. Usher, can I get in? Not no, but hell no.
Hell no.
And I've been to a playoff hockey game before in Buffalo, so you save it.
Wow.
Okay. It's been a long time ago, but I went to one.
Hey, I'm happy for those people. Those people in Buffalo, man. You talk about. First of all, you got to live in Buffalo, Kelly, like you know, and then no playoff hockey for like 20 years, and they're at the top of the standings. If I had one wish, if the Flyers can't win it, I want Buffalo to win it. That's my wish because I love those people there.
Kelly, look at Parker. He's having withdrawals because nothing orange has come up yet.
It's all right.
He is having a problem right now.
I'm enjoying the conversation.
Let's keep it away from the orange, George. Let's see what, because he's going to ask all of it. Yeah.
If you give me room for any questions, Kelly, of course.
Well, I'm going to try not to.
Wow, little shot there. So, just know, Tony, that I'm rooting for you. I will instantly for you become a Flyers fan because 10 years in that thing is a long time. We've gone through 2 of not making it, and I don't want to go through a third. Kelly, he wants you alert, bright-eyed, go.
Am I alert today, Tony?
Kelly, I love you. When you clap back at me, Kelly, that's a Kelly Holcomb I want. You're my guy in my huddle. I don't want anybody else in my huddle but Kelly Holcomb.
No, I would be your guy in the huddle now. I get after you.
No question.
I would get after
you
it
got
a little
presence.
bit.
You got presence.
Hey, talk about that. How was the I was looking. How was the spring game, man? Like give us something. Give us I heard that we've been talking about the defensive backs forever.
Yeah.
I heard Jim Knowles and the defense really looked good. I heard the DBs were kind of the deal, and the defensive line, who's been like the stalwart for the past 4 years, was a little bit down.
Kelly's sound just went on me. Did my sound go? Can you guys hear me?
No, we got you. We got you. Can you hear? Can you hear us? Yeah,
Kelly's
you can hear
sound
us.
went. I can't hear me now? Guys.
Okay, I don't know.
When George left, there you go. When George left, I lost your sound.
So is it an improvement when you can't hear him?
Well, I mean, Kelly, it was like I was looking for the subtitles, and it just said words. But
can you not hear me?
See?
Tony, can you hear me?
Kelly's like in Black Belt Theater, like we used to get on the UHF stations back in the day. I can't hear you.
I don't know, man. George, take it. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Let's blame it on Parker. So how did the spring game go?
George, they just got work to do. Tennessee's got the defense has improved. The quarterback play is going to be everything. Look, quarterback play in all these situations. Like we were talking today, Tennessee's involved with several guys in the transfer portal in basketball. You don't get a point guard it's all for naught. Tennessee is going to have a decision, and the decision, if George McIntyre doesn't get better spring, summer, they're going to be forced to decide whether or not they're going to start a true freshman. I don't think they will, but I think at some point that kid's going to play unless George McIntyre takes the bull by the horns. I'll just be honest because that's what I do. People I talk to there every day, he just hasn't had a good spring, George. And
so
it just says what it is.
Will they use the Furman game to basically say, okay, 50% for both, and we're going to make an ultimate decision after that?
No, I think in their perfect world, I don't think unless Shemak just craters, okay? Which I don't think he's cratering, but I think that if they're going to do this deal where you introduce a quarterback, they probably do it after Texas. Because then you would have gotten your road trip to Georgia Tech out of the way. Your game against Texas, the last thing you want to do is throw a true freshman, I think, out on the field. Now, Kelly can speak to this, but throw a true freshman out on the field against a team like Texas, you're asking for blowing a kid's confidence in my mind. Or maybe not. Maybe he goes out there and, explodes.
So some of the history. His grandfather had a lot of Dave McGinnis in him.
Yeah.
Made everybody who ever came in contact with him feel special.
Mm-hmm.
George McIntyre, the quarterback's father, and I are good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost hate asking this. What do they think is going on with him?
It's just I guess what I hear is just the inconsistency from day to day. And, that's just not something, because he has obviously high end potential and he shows that, but then he shows, low end stuff. And it's, that's a difficult deal. That's a tough position. Look, all the cards are on the table. You have to go out there and perform. The good thing now that a young man in his spot would get is he doesn't have to wait until August to work it out with his teammates. They're going to be doing stuff all summer. So, and late into the spring and then into the summer. So, he'll get opportunities to get better. One of the things I say on the air is, you can't judge these guys with the snapshot in time. However, that said, through this little snapshot in time, I can't help but wonder if Tennessee had a do-over, if they would have gone out into the portal and say gotten an insurance policy at quarterback, because they didn't do that with these two young guys.
Who should they have gone after, in your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, there are all kinds of names out there. If you look at the top 100 names in the portal, it wouldn't have had to have been somebody that would have been like breaking the bank. I always thought, George, the kid that was at Old Dominion, who's now at Wisconsin, would have been a good play for them for a year. And then you grow these two guys. I guess looking back at it, if you do that, do you risk, a George McIntyre jumping into the portal? It's just the decisions that these coaches have to make, that these kids have to make. It's all just very fluid today. And obviously there are no rules, like that thing about them slapping Iowa with a tampering charge from something 3 years ago that Parker was just talking about what are we doing? It's totally absurd. There are no rules.
Why didn't they go after Ole Miss for tampering with Luke Ferrelli? He was literally in class and they texted him.
There are no rules.
We'll give you
because there are no rules. Because there are no rules. And you're not going to mess with an SEC team.
Pay their dues. Who the hell knows with them?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they decide. And look, it's real easy to flex on a team that took the field 4 years ago and say, we're going to take your wins away. Because like you guys said, look, if you gave me if I was a football coach, and I hate to say this out loud, but I could go out and win violating the rules in that deal where everybody violates the rules. First of all, I'm going to violate the rules because there are no rules. And secondly, you're not going to take my memories away from me. Me and my fan base are going to go win it all. And if you want to take a banner down and take it out of some damn record book, I mean, have at it. I'm going to call myself the champion for the rest of my life.
Kelly, let's do a little mic check. Talk, and then I'll ask Tony.
I can hear him.
Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Hey, so let me ask you this. You talk about George McIntyre, and I'm going to be honest with you, man. From what I heard in high school, he was kind of inconsistent in high school as well. So everybody's been talking about George McIntyre this and George McIntyre that, and that it was like going on potential. And one of my buddies told me a long time ago, potential means you suck right now. And that's what everybody talks about. Well, he's got great potential. Well, you know what? He was inconsistent in high school, and it seems like it's carrying over to the University of Tennessee. Like, is it going to come around? Because, in my opinion, sometimes that don't ever come around, Tony.
Which,
well, I don't know. You look,
George ran the same offense that I ran under Coach Wade. Same exact thing.
Yeah.
One thing about it is we don't see practice all the time. I'm just going off what, people I talk to. And those same people made Nico sound like the second coming of Michael Vick a couple years ago. So, I got to just sort of filter everything. However, multiple different people sort of have the same read on George, which is it's up one day, down one day. And you and I both know, Kelly, the last thing you can be at that position is inconsistent because you won't play. I mean, it's pretty simple. I would rather know what I'm getting from you every day, as long as it's something in the middle, than a high, and a low. And I hear his highs are high, but his lows are low. And as long as your lows are low, as long as your floor is lower than what they want to see, because a low floor day means you go out against good competition, and might throw 3 or 4 interceptions. You can't win football games like that.
And I asked you this last week, man, and I'm going to ask you again. Is there, it's early, and they've still got months to prepare. They've still got months to get better. And I listened to Josh Heupel, and he's talking about their fundamental, and he's talking about getting acquainted more with the system and working on their footwork and things like that. But is there some concern? I think the Faison Brandon kid's really good. I mean, but he is a freshman. You're right, he is a freshman. But do you go ahead and just make the decision and say, hey, we're going to live or die with this guy, and, hopefully we can keep him for a while and we can pay him a lot of money, and, if he works out, he works out.
My thing is, I don't know if I want to put him out there against Texas. I don't know. I mean, I don't look, I want to set people up to succeed, but then again, Michigan did it with their kid last year and he grew. And if you guys will remember, he had zero business playing in the Oklahoma game. But by the end of the year, he was pretty good. Fans think you just go out there and physically you do it. And at this level, man, that's as you know, physical is part of it. But at this level, it's a small part of it because all these guys can throw the ball. This guy here is physically, like I was telling you a couple of weeks back, you look at him, that does not look like an 18-year-old kid. He's not built like an 18-year-old kid. He's a pretty good runner in the open field when he gets a shot. And, that's the one thing about him that would intrigue me. But, man, going against that Texas team that has designs on a national championship with their $45 million payroll and God knows what up front, it's just going to be very interesting. It's going to be, I would say, kind of a nervous summer around the football program with what happens with the quarterback situation.
Let me ask you this.
One more question.
Okay. This just came to me, but let me ask you this, and I know you really can't answer this, but Coach Knowles, they've had the Banks guy there for a while, and it seems like they've kind of faltered defensively, but it seems like, him coming from Penn State, him getting the defense kind of molded together, they had a really good spring. Yeah. Do you think there's more pressure now on Josh Heupel because, he did have that? Do you think there's more pressure on him to kind of, explode on offense this year?
Kelly, Tennessee's win total right now from Vegas is 6.5.
Wow. Really?
And if that's the nature, I mean, that was the number they introduced. I don't know if it's a number it'll be in a month, but, you're in a league where you're playing this expanded schedule.
Yeah.
Look at the names on Tennessee's schedule. There's a lot of question mark, but the Vols are a big question mark. So in a league full of them, the interesting thing about the SEC is there are a bunch of teams that have issues at quarterback.
Yeah.
For a half league. It's an interesting time here. It really is.
So, Tony, I'm not sure. I'm sure you did see this, but you made a lot of headlines for the report on Chaz Coleman and what's going on with him. Yeah. Do you have any further details onto what's going on?
Well, I mean, he's just got to decide if he wants to play football and play here. It's pretty much that simple. He missed most of last week. He missed a bunch of workouts. He's a highly paid kid. They've talked about maybe having a family member come down from Ohio to be with him because he's having some homesickness issues. And everything we reported last week and everything I reported on our website at tclub.team was 100% accurate.
From 50,000 feet with George McIntyre and Faison Brandon, is this more so George physically needs to develop better and Faison it's more just getting the playbook down and all that good stuff? Or is there more to it than just that?
Well, always with a true freshman, that's going to be what it is, and that's where they threw him in the deep end because you have to. You got to start somewhere, especially when you saw, kind of how George just didn't pick it up this spring as quickly as they wanted him to. And so they're going to be in a real quandary. They got to grow one of those guys through the summer because one thing about the Southeastern Conference, they're not going to have mercy on you, in this league. And then we're following the basketball situation, guys. Tennessee's basketball team could spend north of $20 million this year in the portal. And some of the guys they're chasing it's incredible. And one of them, this Juke Harris kid, they're involved with him. North Carolina's involved with him. Michigan's involved with him. He's been crystal balled to two different teams in the last couple of days and not Tennessee. And I think Tennessee has an excellent chance of getting him. And I think they're willing to pay around $7 million for him. And before it's over, guys, we're going to see a $10 million basketball player because it's totally out of control in the transfer portal. The amount of money, JP Estrella, I heard today from a source on our show who ought to know. He spent years and years at it. The belief is Michigan's paying him around $4 million, which if that's true, that means Michigan basketball is paying a guy roughly 40% of what their payroll was last year when they won the national championship. All in one season, it's gotten this expensive. And they don't even know if he's going to be able to play all year with his injury history. And that is roughly $500,000 less than Tennessee offered the Arizona State quarterback last year, who's now at LSU, who the Vols thought they had at one time. And that's just for one basketball player. Like high-end basketball players, George, are going to make $7.5, maybe up to $8 million in this particular cycle. I mean, this is totally out of control what we've done here.
Unsustainable. I mean, how do you know what? Oh, by the way, these two love Day Ames, the transfer from Cal.
Yeah.
Do you know how much he's making, or the big man from Loyola?
Not that. Those guys are both kind of under the radar type players. The top of the mark guys in the portal are really getting paid. And what happens is these teams that have get desperate. And when the haves, I don't even know if desperate's the right term, but they want to get you. And if they want to get you, they can make it rain on you these days. Because when boosters start, George, you imagine at a place like Tennessee spending $20 million on your basketball payroll?
Ray Mears is rolling over.
And Rick Barnes knows how to work it, my friend. That guy's a master politician.
Okay, as we end this, I need a yes or a no. Didn't the Flyers in Pittsburgh play a 6 overtime playoff game?
Yeah, I got a great story. My wife and I were kind of recently married, and I woke her up at 3:45 a.m. to tell her that Keith Primo had just scored. And she looked at me and said, "Don't ever wake me up for a sporting event, ever." And I mean ever again. A young Laura, she looked at me and said, "What are you waking me up for?" The game ended, George, at like literally 3:45 in the morning, and I was up the next day, and I went to work, and my boss goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I don't feel well."
No. Okay, tell people how to reach you here real quick.
tclub.team. We're trying to stay on this portal each and every day. I'm already really sick of it. And we're only into like the 9th day of it. And we've got like 18 more days of it. And I think but before it's all over, I'm going to pull all my hair out.
Looks pretty much gone to me.
Thank you, guys.
Don't
yeah.
look much there.
Hey,
I
Tony,
would not encourage anybody to put Nair on the top of their head. That's what happened to me. Thank you, guys.
See you soon.
See ya.
Oh my, he is amazing. Okay, it'll be probably the shortest segment in the history of radio. We're coming back to the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Nashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
Sports and Social at Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a racing sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Nashville, get ready to make history. On April the 19th at Geodis Park, the Guinness Music City Rugby Showdown brings the first ever Major League Rugby match to Tennessee. It's a powerhouse showdown. The Chicago Hounds take on the three-time champions, the New England Free Jacks, in a clash you don't want to miss. Feel the intensity, hear the hits, experience the speed, the rivalry, and the electric atmosphere of pro rugby live in Music City. One match, history in the making. Be there April the 19th at Geodis Park and get your tickets now at chicagohounds.com. You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Tell them Plaz sent you.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Did I hear the number correctly? 7 million for a player?
You did.
Unbelievable. That's just unbelievable to me, guys. It's going, like Tony said, it's out of control. Like what are we doing in college athletics? I understand, and we say it every day on the show, George, but like I understand that kids need to be paid. But when you $7 million, like that's, I mean, NBA players are not making that right now. Like it's just out. It's absurd, is what it is.
Look, the pendulum was wrong when coaches could tell a kid, "Yeah, we'll let you transfer, but here are the schools that I have a problem with you going to."
Yeah.
Okay, that's when the pendulum was too far that way. When you hear this kind of story, now you know it's gone too far that way.
It has gone too far that way, and it's amazing to me. I just don't understand. You know, Parker said it, but like, how can they sustain this? Like, they're going back to the same money, people. They've got this salary cap in college, but that has nothing to do with these collectives. And these collectives are, I guess, big businesses or people that have a lot of money that, you know, did well in their life. They're going to keep going back to these folks, and then at some point, these folks are going to say, "I got nothing else for you, man. I really don't." Now, what? I mean, are they going to go to the Home Depots, the Lowe's, the Walmart? I don't know. I guess they will at some point, and maybe they can sustain that and keep it up. I just don't know how this ends or how this goes in the next couple of years.
That's what I'm worried about, is the idea of the booster fatigue. Because if we're seeing $7 million basketball players, we're eventually going to get to 10. It can't just keep going up. It's got to come back down at some point, you would think. I just don't understand.
It's not going to.
Exactly.
unless schools are put under a legitimate, true salary cap.
Salary cap, and you can't have a collective. If it's a salary cap and it's $22.5 million or whatever it is, you cannot go over that. And at some point, like, we can't. These collectives have got to stop. Like if you're going, it's great that they gave them a salary cap. It's great that we did all that. But like, if you're not going to put any restraints on the collectives that they're getting, then what do we need a salary cap for? Who cares?
Yeah,
it is a salary cap, but they're also allowing the third party, which that's when it starts to get money.
That's when it's not a salary cap.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you got some J.R. Ewing wannabes who are out there who got nothing to do better with their money. I know what they could do. They could send it to Sudbury Road.
And I know what's going to happen. That's not ever going to happen.
No, it isn't. Okay, hour number one's in the books. We'll have stat of the day, then Adam Zocks to talk about the marathon just around the corner, a little Preds talk, and our remembrances of the great Dave McGinnis through our listeners on the George Plaster Show.
Nashville, it's back. Cromwell Media, alongside Fox 17, brings you the 5th annual 615 Open, presented by Gary Force Acura and Atmos Energy. May 28th at Hermitage. Golf with purpose, supporting Folds of Honor. Register now at 615open.com.
For over 40 years, Electronic Express has been with you from the moment you wake up to supporting your health goals as you run that extra mile or cook meals that bring the family together, making every playtime more fun and every movie night unforgettable. Shop online or in one of our 22 stores. Electronic Express, for every moment of your day.
All right, ladies, fellas, let's get real for a second. Size matters. Once you go daddy's, there's no going back. You want it big, beautiful, and all natural. Daddy's dogs aren't just any hot dogs, baby. We're talking about the biggest, tastiest hot dogs you've ever eaten. And this month only, try the Granddaddy Dog Double. The dog. When you're ready to bring the party to your mouth, visit the game, Nashville.com/deals for a half-price gift card. Daddy's Dogs. Golly, that's a tasty dog.
Future leaders begin at DePauw University. In the School of Business and Leadership, students gain the skills and confidence to make their mark and change the world. Step up, stand out, and lead with purpose. Learn more at depaw.edu.
Listen up, Braves fans. Braves Vision is your new TV home of the Atlanta Braves. And catching every pitch is easier than ever. Watch Braves Vision through your current cable or satellite provider, or stream games on Braves Vision with the Braves.TV subscription. That means streaming from anywhere on any device with no local blackouts. Check out all your options at Braves.com/watch. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
Need the perfect bottle for your next celebration? Caps Wine and Spirits has you covered. Whether it's wine, craft beer, or premium spirits, at Caps, you'll find everyday favorites to rare finds. Join Caps for Wine Down Wednesdays with tastings and rotating distillery Fridays to discover your next favorite bottle. Visit Caps at 127 Franklin Road in Brentwood, your premier destination for wine, spirits, and craft beer in Middle Tennessee. Caps, for the adventurous in spirit.
What's up, everybody? This is Ron Davenport. Are you hungry for more than just the game? Chicago's home of chicken and waffles has you covered. Crispy golden fried chicken, fluffy waffles, and all the game day excitement you can handle. Dig into mouthwatering classics like our famous chicken and waffles or the savory catfish dinner. Whether you're dining in with friends or grabbing takeout, Chicago's home of chicken and waffles is your place to score big. Great food, great football, and great vibes only at Chicago's home of chicken and waffles. Chicago's home of chicken and waffles, where the food is as good as the game.
In case you missed Robbie and Rex Road.
I think moving Jonathan Marchessault needs to be a priority for the next GM. I do. Like, it just hasn't worked. And, you know, we're 2 years in at this point, and he's not getting any younger, and it just hasn't been a good fit. And I think a big part of that is the Predators just haven't had the center depth that they've needed.
Wake up with Robbie and Rex Road. Weekday mornings at 6. Your sports live here on 102.5 The Game.
Faith communities are meant to be places of trust, care, and healing. On Friday, May 1st, join leaders, advocates, and community partners for Sacred Spaces, Safe Communities, a one-day trauma-informed symposium at Vanderbilt University. From understanding power dynamics and accountability to learning compassionate, faith-rooted prevention practices, this gathering equips you to better respond to and prevent sexual violence. It's happening 9 till 3 at the Carmichael College Multipurpose Room. Registration is required by April 24th. Visit sacenter.org to sign up. Be part of the courageous conversation.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Time for our stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. What year was the very first Stanley Cup playoffs? Not a layup
Good luck,
today.
George.
Not a layup at all. And for the record, I wasn't a season ticket holder at that point. Oh,
no, you were
gosh.
not, George.
Would something like 1920 be close?
I don't know. Maybe Kelly knows the answer.
Well, I mean, that's as
He's
good
the
an
hockey
answer as any,
expert
man.
here.
I have no. I'll say 1930. Go ahead.
1983. The Montreal Amateur Athletic Association.
No, hold on a second. Go back.
Do we have a challenge?
You're damn right we do. It's not even close.
First Stanley Cup playoffs.
Stanley
What
Cup
was the very?
playoffs go way back to the original 6.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, this is definitely wrong.
Yeah. But I mean, it was fun. I mean, I've decided that my answer is correct.
Okay, so I did look up the answer. For the record, I do not make the questions.
Okay.
The first NHL exclusive Stanley Cup playoffs began in 1927 after the NHL took over the trophy.
You know, what's 7 years? I mean, I'm close enough. Thank you.
You had 1930, man. Hey, we had it surrounded,
Kelly was
George.
actually closer.
Kelly,
We had it
I think
surrounded.
we both take that as a victory.
I'm kind of in agreement
No.
with you. Totally.
Parker, you pipe down.
I'm gonna start
getting
keeping
like
track of
Kelly.
these. I'm gonna start keeping track.
Keep track of yourself.
Yeah.
You little punk.
What do you think Adam Zocks is thinking as he listens backstage to this?
We should have let him try to answer the question. That's what we should
He's
have done.
probably sitting there going, what have I gotten into? Adam Zocks is, in my opinion, Mr. Marathon. He basically ran the first one and came back years later to run the 25th. Man, he and I have been doing this a long time. Adam, how in the world are you?
I'm great. So good to see you again, George, and beyond. And that was an interesting question because I'm fairly new to hockey, but I just looked it up and it says 1893.
1893. I didn't cover that one either.
No, so don't know if that's right either.
Let's go with 1893. It sounds good. So you are a busy man right now because you've got a marathon just around the corner. Let's start. Give people some specifics.
Sure. Yeah, they were looking forward to another great day. First of all, it's April, right? So that means it's coming up to marathon weekend. The last weekend in April in Nashville has been our traditional date for 25 years. This will be number 26 that we've put on this event. And, it's become a part of Nashville. Right? It's everyone knows end of the month, end of April, it's marathon time. We're back for another great year. The courses, we've had some changes over the years. We have a couple of adjustments this year because of construction that we were told was going to happen and actually didn't. So we did make some changes with to protect ourselves and make sure we were ready for the event, but they're minor. But we're still starting out on Broadway in Demumbrian for the marathon and half and 5K and the 10K. Finish lines are all at Nissan Stadium for at least this year. Next year, who knows what we're going to be doing with that construction going on. So a lot going on in Nashville, and we're just so happy to be a part of it for another year.
Okay, clearly somebody likes what y'all are doing, because when you all have us broadcast earlier in the week as people are registering, they're coming from all over the place.
Exactly, and that's what we want to do every year, right? This is it's part of what our event's all about. It's to bring people to Nashville. This is a great city. 25 years ago, no one was coming to Nashville to run, and I don't think barely anyone in Nashville ran. So we kind of created that market and turned it into a running city. And exactly right. At the expo, people traveling to come to this city and to be part of this event and to experience everything that Nashville has to offer. And, over the years, the city keeps growing and keeps offering more. And we want to keep bringing more people here every year.
What buttons do you think you all as a staff pushed that resonated with all these people that come in?
I think, early on, as I said, it was a tough sell to come to Nashville and to run here. The course, this is not easy. This is not a flat, fast course where you're going to run a PR every year. It's just not what Nashville has to offer. But what Nashville does have to offer is a great, fun weekend and experience through, and outside of just the race itself. Obviously, what Nashville's about, and the music and what we do with it on the course, with all the entertainment every mile, the water stations, the volunteers, the spectators, the community that gets behind the event and lines the streets throughout all the different areas. And, it's a course that has a lot of varied views. It's part of it's residential, part of it is different, part of the finishing at Nissan Stadium and now being able to see the new Nissan Stadium going up. So, and then of course there's the St. Jude part of it and everything that we're doing, all the St. Jude heroes that are participating in raising money for the hospital.
So Adam, I probably knew more early than even you'd want me to know because of my friend, the late, great Rick Region, who absolutely took ownership of being a volunteer. You'd be up a creek without those volunteers, wouldn't you? I mean, they're really important to what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can't do this event without the support of the community and the volunteers who are helping us out throughout the weekend. So it's from the expo where they're out there, hundreds of volunteers at the expo for registration and pack and pickup, and then on the race day at all the aid stations. I mean, we're end of April in Nashville. It's typically warm. We're not going to get cold weather at that time of year. So we have to make sure that we are taking care of every runner that comes to this event and participates. And the aid stations with the water and the sport drink and everything that they get is all managed and handled by volunteers. And then the finish line in the secure zone where after they cross that finish line and the products that they're getting, all volunteers. So Nashville Sports Council helps us with managing that whole program. And you're exactly right, George. We can't do this without that support.
So if a person maybe is new to town and they're like, yeah, I'd like to do that. Adam, what's the best way for them to get into the process of being a volunteer?
Yeah, just go to the event website or contact Nashville Sports Council, but on our event website, which is runrockandroll.com/Nashville, you can click on the volunteer button and still volunteer. We definitely can still use more. We still have water station spaces open. We still have spaces everywhere to be a part of it. So yeah, if you're not ready to run, you're not ready to be a part of it for this year from a runner perspective, then be part of the event on the volunteer side.
If I asked you the dumb question, who's going to win this race? Is there somebody out there that you know that you can label and say, look, until I hear otherwise, that's the favorite?
No, I can't. I actually cannot do that. We it's and George, you've seen the event over the years. Earlier we had like a true elite field where we were bringing athletes in from around the world to run really fast. We don't do that with this race anymore, so I really don't know. I haven't even seen the elite list yet, so I'm not sure who's going to be that front runner out there. But it's really, the fast runners are great and we love having them, but that's the 1% of what this event is all about. Right? The rest of the runners are the ones that are making the St. Jude Rock and Roll Nashville race as successful as it's been for 25 years.
Tell me, because you've probably got some notes or some talking points, anything I've left out you want to get out there?
Well, you can certainly still register. There's still time. So remember, there's many distances to choose from the 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon. So if you haven't registered yet and you haven't been training, you're probably not running the marathon, but certainly you can come out and be part of our 5K. And they're all on Saturday, April 25th in the morning. And even if on Sunday morning, we have the mile races and doggy dash and our kids races that are still open. As actually the mile is sold out. That's the only one of our distances that we cannot take any more runners, but every other distance is still open for participation. So if you've been on the fence and you think you want to be a part of it, but you weren't sure, dive in now, make the commitment, and we can register online through the weekend. And if you really put it off, next week at the Expo at Music City Center on Thursday, Friday, you can still register there as well. So we have room for you if you want to be part of it.
Okay, last thing. Where's the best place for a person that's never been to this before to watch it?
There's a lot of good spots. I would say like the Music Row roundabout is a great spot because we have the runners going out and then hitting Music Row, and then they come back on the other side and come back around the roundabout to head down onto Division Street. The Gulch is a great area, obviously for spectating and just for there's so much to do around there, and it's just so interesting because as you know, back when we started the event, the Gulch was easy to run through because there was nothing there. Right? It was just rubble. So now it's kind of hard to run through because there is so much there and so much development has happened. But it's definitely a great area to watch the race. Start line's great because you can watch the start and then just head over down over the pedestrian bridge to the stadium to be there for the finish. So, and then Belmont Boulevard and 12 South also, because you can watch on Belmont and see the runners going outbound and then just scoot across one of the cross streets there to 12 South and catch them coming back up. So if you're out there to watch a runner, a friend or family who's out there and you want to catch them multiple spots, those are the good areas to hit.
The growth of this thing is truly a 30 for 30. Adam Zocks here with us has been a huge part of why that growth has happened. Thank you for the visit as always. If you get Kelly Holcomb signed up, would you call me?
I will do that for you, George.
Thank you. Hey, talk soon.
Okay. Thanks so much.
See you next week. Okay. It's really an amazing story. Let me bring these guys back up. Kelly, have you ever run a marathon?
George, there's nothing that I would rather not do in my life is to run a marathon. I can't imagine the excruciating pain that you would be in after running a marathon. I always tell people this when they tell me that they're runners. I always show them a runner versus sprinter, and the runner is lost all his muscle tone, and the sprinter is like jacked. Like when you're in school, all the guys that are cross country or they're long distance runners like the Kenyans and all those guys. They're really thin. They have no muscle tone. And then you look at all the track guys that do sprinting and they're yoked up. So there's no way in the world that I would do a half a marathon. I may walk that trash, but I'm never going to do a half a marathon or a marathon. That just does not intrigue me whatsoever.
Two things. You're right about that, and you're also soft.
Oh, there's no question. I told you before. I told you a long time ago, Parker. When I was playing football, I used to be tougher than woodpecker lips. Now I'm soft as a marshmallow. I get it. I totally get it.
Parker, when you get to that age, let's see how it's all playing out.
That's right.
I'm going to try to lengthen my telomeres until I get to that point. So we'll see.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal, Parker. When you have to take as many shots as I had just to play and just to stay on the field, and then you have joint issues when you're 52 years old, you come talk to me then, Hoss.
Fair enough.
That was very heartwarming. Okay, after the break, a few 100,000 thoughts on a Predators season that we now know is basically over. Yeah, they've got one home game left on Thursday night, but the playoff thing is done. It's not going to happen. We'll talk about it when we come back on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Celebrity Bowling Night.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are back on this Tuesday afternoon. Predators were eliminated from playoff contention last night thanks to San Jose's 3-2 win at Bridgestone. So, Kelly, here's a couple, 3 thoughts that I've got about some stuff. Doesn't mean I'm right, just means it's my opinion. Number one, Preds are going to get a new general manager, and I would expect this in the next 2 weeks we'll know who that person is. To me, that person's got a tough decision to make about Andrew Burnett. A month ago, I would have said, absolutely get rid of him. Something's not quite right here. But I watched this team over the last however many months of trying to pull this off. And Kelly, there should be a check mark in the give Andrew Burnett credit. This team played really hard. I mean, last night they didn't play very well, but they played hard.
Yeah. George, and I've said that over and over again, man. That's what fans want to see. Like, you might not win the games, but if you're competitive and you're still fighting at the end, that's what people want to see, and they can be proud of an organization like that. Now, let me ask you, so are you, because you've kind of been, we've had Andrew Burnett on the show a couple of years ago when he got, we had him on several times. Are you think he deserves the benefit of the doubt? He needs another shot. You like the way he's got the team playing right now, and they're fighting for him. So when you tell me that they're fighting for him, that means that he has not lost the locker room. And when you get in situations like this, they obviously got themselves into a chance to make the playoffs, and that's all anybody wants is a chance. So if you're still doing that and you can get them to that means you haven't lost the locker room. And we were worried in the middle of the season that maybe he had lost the locker room. So what does that say to you, and what does that say for you and next year with Andrew Burnett?
So to me, with a new GM, it's easy for that person to come in and say, well, he's not my guy, so adios.
Right.
That's one way to do it. If this guy is being fair, he's going to sit there with one of these legal pads, and as he looks through and tries to, that's a legal pad. Ooh, that was exciting.
Riveting.
He's going to do the left side for good. Yeah, away. And the right side for, whatever. Parker.
That's it.
That was weak.
That generation, George.
Yeah.
Weak, soft.
So here's the thing. Under the category of what that GM needs to be saying to Andrew Burnett about long-term keeping you is, number one, that GM needs to say, I have got to see better first periods. I've watched enough of your film. You all come out deader than a doorknob too many nights, in particular at home, which I, as a season ticket holder, don't understand. There have been a series of last-minute gaffes that have cost them points, and maybe the reason they didn't get in the playoffs this year. If it were me, if I were sitting in the chair, I would bring him back, but I would tell him these are the areas that have to improve. Now, some of you may have heard a commercial a few minutes ago for Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode. And Robbie said, it's time to move Marcia So. And I wholeheartedly agree. It just hadn't worked here. Now, what that new GM is going to have to decide is how much of the current salary is he willing to eat? Because teams are not going to pay what the Predators paid Jonathan Marchessault to take him off their hands.
What did they pay him, George? You remember?
I wish I had it in front of me. It's a pretty good little chunk of change. And
what about Brady Shea?
Yeah, I would probably do the same. Brady Shea hadn't been anything to write home about either in his 2 years. Now, Stamkos turned it on and had a monster year and honestly looked like the real leader of this team. When I hear people say trade him, I'm like, no, this team needs him. Yeah, it might be diminishing skills, but there's something intangible that he brings to the table that I think has helped them a bunch.
George, who do you think, because you've got a beat on all this, who do you think is the front runner of the GM, or are they keeping it quiet?
I think they've done a really good job of keeping it quiet. There are names out there. The one I know a little bit about is Chris Pronger, who probably isn't going to get this job. He's 6'7" tall. He's the biggest defenseman I ever saw. Played for the Blues throughout his career. The other names, if you said who's going to be the new Braves GM, I could rattle off a bunch of stuff. I'm not at that point in hockey. I'm a season ticket holder. Who cares?
Has Tom Fitzgerald's name been linked to this officially?
Yeah, and look, I'm biased. Tom and I did a radio show together. Would I love to see him back here? Sure, but I'm biased.
And you know what? We talked about this with the Titans, George, and even though it is a professional team, is it a place that a new GM and, whatever he does with coaching and all that, is this a place where he thinks he can win or he can turn this around because of the organization, because of the ownership? Did the ownership give him enough resources that he thinks he can turn this thing around and get this going in the right direction? Is it an organization like that?
Yeah, I don't have any question about, in this case, ownership is Bill Haslam.
Yes.
I don't have any questions or any reason to doubt the resources on his end. Now, I will say that The Athletic, in an anonymous survey, did not speak very highly of the Preds.
Really?
And that was disappointing to hear. I think it's a great city to live in. Lack of state income tax ought to be a huge help. I'm not buying that people don't want to play here. What I think a lot of the bad grade is the mixed message that's been coming out of, is the team in a rebuild? Are they really going after a playoff? What are they doing? Because as a fan for a long time, it was hard for me to tell.
Right. So here's another question I got. You talk about Marchessault needing to go. Who else do you think? Because you don't know this. I mean, you're not in the meetings, you're not in the organization. But like, who do you think? Who else needs to go?
Brady Shea.
Yeah.
But I think both of those involve, how much are the Predators willing to eat of the contracts they've signed them to? I don't see people knocking down the door for Marchessault, even though in his career he's had a 40-goal year in Vegas. Brady Shea, I don't see anybody knocking down that door.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one thing that's happened, though, at the end of the season that bears watching. Justus Annunen played the last two games, the most important games of their season. By the way, he played pretty damn good last night. Wonder what UC Saros is thinking, because his backup goaltender reached a level at the end of the season where he was more reliable.
Hey, that weighs on the confidence of a guy that started.
Sure
that's been paid all the money, and then when it comes to the end of the year and you're making a run at the playoffs and you're not playing, you got to be shaking your head. You also have, it's a production league. Every professional sport is a production league, and if you're not producing, you see the writing on the wall. And if he's not playing in there at the end of the year, you start to lose a little bit of confidence.
Here's the nightmare question that an Andrew Brunette might get asked by me.
Yeah.
But won't enjoy having to answer it. Okay, if you'd gotten in, what goaltender was starting game one?
Took the words right out of my mouth, because you think the contract would have to factor into that, right? And the money that he's getting paid, $8 million?
Well, here's the deal. That's what I said the other day, Parker. The locker room knows, man. I don't care how much you're getting paid. I can remember when I was there and, in Cleveland, and Tim and I were good. Like, your team does not care, man. They just want somebody in there that gives them an opportunity to win. And when the Eustace kid is playing as good as he's been playing, and you make a move like that, you better be right. And if you're not, you're going to lose some credibility inside that locker room, and that's not what you need.
This is me, the season ticket holder, talking.
Yeah.
Me, the season ticket holder, really appreciates the effort down the stretch. They went on a road trip that should have buried them. And when they started out the road trip with a loss to Tampa, I kind of mentally said, this is it. But they kept fighting against a lot of odds because the Kings, and I don't know what caused it in the schedule, the Kings had a cupcake. Yeah, they're playing good, but part of the reason they're playing good is they're not playing anybody. You give me enough Vancouver and Calgary, or Calgary, as Crispy calls it, and I'll show you some wins. And so they had a really tough road, and yet they made it, they kept us in a pennant race till one game before the end of the regular season, and I appreciate that.
So, George, I wanted to go back to, when it comes down to determining if Andrew Brunette is going to be back next year. And I don't know how it is in the NHL, but I would just imagine it's this way for most professional sports. But does momentum created at the end of the season really carry over into the next season?
Who knows? Sounds good.
Right.
I mean,
does
it?
Does it actually happen, though?
I don't think so. So here's where I would go with this, Parker. If the new GM walks in and just says, you're gone, okay, to me, that's unfair because this guy played here. He's earned the right to have a meeting with this guy and for this guy to lay down if we bring you back, these are the things that must improve. Because the fact of it is, he may have done a heck of a job to get them this close. They're as slow as molasses. That's an area that's got to change. And one thing I've liked, the young guys that got brought up after the deadline, they've all made a difference. That is encouraging.
Oh, George, it's just amazing, man. I'm thinking back because I remember a couple of years, and I said it 2 weeks ago, I think, but when Guy used to come on,
right,
2 years ago, and they brought these young guys in and they made that run at the playoffs, everything was looking up. For Andrew Brunette, he was getting them going. They had the desire to play. They were fighting to the end. And then, it's amazing how I thought they were on their way up. I really did. 2017, obviously the pinnacle when they go to the Stanley Cup the Stanley Cup Finals. But I thought they were heading up, and then it's just funny how the right mix of guys sometimes just don't gel, and you just can't get any momentum going. I don't know, but you talk about a GM coming in, you think Andrew Brunette deserves that, maybe, but we also know that this is professional sports, and sometimes a guy comes in and it's not his guy. He's going to go back and look at the tapes. He's going to wonder why all this. He's obviously going to meet with him, but don't be surprised if he says, "Hey, I like what you've done here for the last 3 years. You got us to one, but we need to start faster, and we just need to change." So I would not be surprised if that happens.
No, and I wouldn't either. But I think Andrew Brunette has earned the right to at least not have the guy walk in and say, "I've made the decision, goodbye."
Yeah.
I think the guy's got to be open-minded. And look, I don't know what they're asking. Are they telling a GM candidate, we want you to retain him? Because sometimes that happens.
Happens.
I don't know.
And sometimes that has and sometimes that makes a decision for the GM, because if he's under that scrutiny and he isn't, they're keeping their guy. He's wanting to make decisions right off the bat. If they're not allowing him to do that, then he could take his name out and say, you know what, this is not for me.
Because who's to say the new GM wouldn't want to pick their own guy?
Right, but you also have to weigh that with, okay, does that coach deserve to be fired?
Yeah. And also weigh the fact that maybe I'm making more money than what I was making in my other organization,
And does the fact that he's a former Pred player force the GM to be a little more open-minded about it?
Good. Don't know.
Let's go to the break, and then I'm going to ask for some phone calls. I know that there are listeners of our show who have dealt with Dave McGinnis over the years. I would love for some of you to share your thoughts about him. If you had personal interactions, man, I want to hear from you. 615-759-9949. Again, 615-759-9949. He was truly one of a kind. He was the best. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Are you tired of living with back pain? What would you do if the pain was gone?
At the Dr. Gill Center, we've helped thousands of people over the last 30 years break free from pain and get back to living life. We're committed to your outcomes, and our caring team listens, understands, and offers real solutions to neuropathy, back pain, and joint pain without unnecessary surgery or medication. Choose the clinic that listens. Choose the clinic that cares. Call the Dr. Gill Center today at 615-882-4838.
Let's make your pain-free life a reality.
Nashville, get ready to make history. On April the 19th at Geodis Park, the Guinness Music City Rugby Showdown brings the first ever Major League Rugby match to Tennessee. It's a powerhouse showdown. The Chicago Hounds take on the three-time champions, the New England Free Jacks, in a clash you don't want to miss. Feel the intensity, hear the hits, experience the speed, the rivalry, and the electric atmosphere of pro rugby live in Music City. One match, history in the making. Be there April the 19th at Geodis Park and get your tickets now at chicagohounds.com. Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. Sports and Social at Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a race and sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Well, as most of you know, we lost an absolute gem yesterday in Dave McGinnis, a former Titan assistant coach, under Jeff Fisher, later the team's color analyst on radio. There are so many stories of just an incredible human being, a really good coach, but a way better human being. This is probably going to get a little emotional, so get ready. Eric, line one, welcome.
Hey, George, first of all, thanks again for the email stuff. I'm going to be meeting with a friend tomorrow trying to help me get the access because I keep hitting the wrong activation code and I keep going back and forth, but I think I can find somebody that'll help me try to claim up the tickets. I know I'm sitting at, but it's just kind of difficult, but thanks again.
Eric, I'd love to laugh at you, but I'm no better.
Yeah, I'm not tech savvy, so. But, George, anyway, about Dave McGinnis, I know I've met him. I can't remember if it was at a John McClain dinner somewhere. I know I've met the guy, but here's the story. I think I've told you this story that happened a few years ago. Of course, I had dealt with hip issues and hip replacement surgery. You'd see me at different events like the Jeff Fisher Fall. I was walking the cane because my hips were so bad. I had hip replacement surgery, and I'm pretty much recovered from that about 3 years ago. But during that time, one of the things is I was struggling financially. I finally got my disability about a year and a half ago. But there was one year I called in, and I wasn't doing this, trying to get sympathy and thing. I was talking on McGinnis' show, and I told him, well, I said that this may be the last year I'm doing that because just different things I was going through with hip replacement surgery and everything, and I've got to take care of that more. And I just don't think I'll be able to do Titans tickets next year. And just if this is my last year, I've enjoyed it. Then when I hung up, I guess it was him and Brett Ryan said, Eric, hang on, we've got a special announcement for you. And I said, what is this? So I found out after the break, his agent, I guess his name or his lawyer, Danny Moore or Donnie Moore, I don't remember his name, called Coach Mack and told him that we got you, and they paid for my season tickets to next year. I was so blown away by that. I did not ask him to do that. I was not doing that trying to get sympathy, but they said just, they wanted to do it and pick up the tab for me, so I was really appreciative. I'm back doing it now. I'm definitely going to be going this year, but with the new stadium, I just don't know if I'm going to be doing it anymore or not. I may, but I still haven't made up my mind on that. I've got to make a decision within the next few months whether or not I'm going to do that, but that's just something I thought I'd share with you. I may have told you about that. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. So tell me, did you ever meet Dave?
I think I met him once, but I can't remember where it was. If it was, because I don't know if it was at a John McClain dinner or at an event. I know I met him one time and stuff, but he recognized my force. He loved when I called in and asked the questions that I did. But he just was enjoyable. I also loved his Macisms, the fact that he would always get on referees and stuff like that on the airwaves and talk about players. He says, well, I like to say what I like to say, but I can't say it on the air. He would just have me cracking up because I'd be listening to him on the radio at the games and stuff like that, George. But he was a legend. He would be truly missed. And I said this on the main stage 104.5 The Zone this morning. One of the things that I'm real sad about is that he'll never get to call the game in that new stadium, because that's kind of one of the things I was looking forward to. And it's going to be interesting to see. And, of course, you can't think about that now, who they'll bring in to replace him. But this guy, he just touched so many people and touched so many lives, and just heard about different things he did for different people and relationships that he had. He's just a great guy, and he will be missed. George, I'll get off and listen to some other callers. Y'all guys take care, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Eric, thank you. That's just one of several of these kind of things that I've heard about Dave. Amazing. Tony in Nolensville, you're up next.
Good afternoon, George, Parker, and Kelly.
Hey, brother.
Guys, I met Coach Mack, very brief, back years ago at a Titans function, George. And in the small time that I talked to him and read, the one word come to my mind was colorful. He was very colorful. And
yes, he was.
and he could, I think we've all got the same opinion, is off camera, away from where he could talk to you like we want to talk. It was like you're sitting around the fire pit drinking a beer. Kelly, he could, for that short time I met him, yeah, he was very colorful, and he could tell some good stories. from what I've heard over the years. And
he was a great storyteller.
Great storyteller from what I've heard. You know, like I say, and I met him just very brief, but listening to him over the years is a great storyteller. So, yeah, that's a good one. That Heaven's getting a good football coach up there and a fun person. That's the truth. Guys, sometimes I feel like Gentry Estes. George, I honestly believe he is listening to your show because 3 times this year, maybe 4, he seems to have wrote an article after material I have covered with you and the guys on your show. I feel like he's following me. And as indicative, his latest story, if y'all read it this morning and saw it in the Tennessean, last week we talked about Tennessee and their streak and all the stuff and what they're up against playing. And, George, you keep alluding to them. You think there'll be a 3 seed, and I'll agree with that if they get in. And I use the word if because they've got a lot of tough games ahead of them. Their strength of schedule has not been very prominent. We've discussed how awful the pitching staff has been this year. And it's just a lot of things are adding up on the negative side. But, you know, we still have Coach Corbin. Let's say that. We still have some games down the stretch on the schedule that I think would be benefit for us on the schedule with Missouri and South Carolina. However, South Carolina is starting to catch a little fire right now. So, but the strength of schedule, going out and playing Marist early in the year, North Dakota State, good God almighty. I mean, they come down here and even beat us 1 game. So you've got those negatives weighing against us. Yeah, I mean, seriously, North Dakota State beat us 5-2, I think it was. And so we've got these things working against us. But you know, playing the SEC schedule, maybe it'll boost the numbers up, but we've got to get some wins in the SEC. There's no doubt. Kelly, one thing I want to run by you. Go ahead, George.
No, go ahead.
Kelly, something, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but on the high school level, there is a bill going through our state capitol that is coming out where they're wanting they're pushing for students that go to a private school that has an enrollment of less than, I think, 200 or 300, that if obviously their school doesn't offer a sports program, that they can go play at a high school or at a school sports that they're zoned to go to in on the public sector. Have y'all seen that?
I have not seen.
That's
I
weird.
haven't seen that. That's kind of crazy, Tony. I have not seen that.
And it's done pass through the House Senate, and I'm talking on the state capitol. I don't want to confuse people. And it's now got to go through, and it's for students. And they said they're trying to address the homeschoolers and the students that go to these pop-up starter schools or whatever that have less than 200 students. And you've got a lot of people that are against it because they said you've got these students being able to go, and what's it going to do to the students that are already in the public schools and doing what they're supposed to do? Whereas in the other part of it, you've got the parents hollering, well, they're double dipping because they're paying tax dollars. They're paying tax dollars for the public school, but they're also paying entrance to the private schools, and that they're wanting it both ways. It's really a mess. It's really a mess, but it's been real quiet, and not many people have said much about it. And the last thing I'm going to cover real quick, y'all might have covered this, George, but the passing of Phil Garner last week, baseball coach, Astros, Pirates. No, if I'm not mistaken, George, wasn't he the second baseman at UT back in the day?
Yes.
Didn't he play at UT?
Yep.
And then
played with the We Are Family Pirates.
Sure did. And George, help me. He had a little nickname. It was it Scrap Iron or something?
Scrap Iron?
A Scrap Head, Scrap Iron is something like, I believe it was Scrap Iron.
Yeah.
But yeah, he passed away also. So and I didn't know if y'all mentioned that. Guys, I know you got callers. Just wanted to talk to you and just holler at you. But sad, somber day. But it's great to have the memories. So always hold on to them. See you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Kelly, there's a story, and I didn't know all of it, involving the Bears' botched attempt to hire Dave McGinnis. The story got out that Bears people knew that Dave McGinnis was going to be the next coach. The problem was the Bears had never told him. They set up a press conference to announce the hiring of a head coach who didn't know. And the whole thing ended up in shambles. And Dave McGinnis had, and this was a job deep down he really wanted. In the Athletic, it hurt because there was nothing he wanted more than to be the head coach of the Bears. But he handled it with his signature grace and humor. For years, he told people, I was head coach of the Bears for 6 hours, but I only knew it for 3.
And I think that's why you see guys like himself, like Tom Moore, who stayed in the NFL for 50 years. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they can laugh at things, and they, hey, it's a business. It's a crazy business, and sometimes crazy things happen, and you just have to laugh about it and go on. And I think that was probably one of the good things with me not knowing him. That was probably one of the great things about him and why he was able to stay as long as he did, because he didn't worry about that stuff too much.
Wasn't there a buyout, too, in the contract after like 2 years, which was very uncommon?
I got to go back. I know that they lowballed him. And let me see if I can find, was offered a 4-year deal with a club option to buy him out and his staff after 2 years. Insulted, he refused. The media members who had assembled for the announcement were told to pack up their cameras and microphones and go home. Frank in Smyrna is up next. Frank, what's going on?
Hi, guys. How we doing?
Good, thank you. Hope you are.
Good. Yeah, hanging in there. Went to the Predators game last night, and that was just, gosh, I don't want to say it was a microcosm of our season, but just a huge disappointment. And I knew it was a long shot at best that these guys were going to get into playoffs anyway. But and I certainly appreciate the effort. The last month and a half, the season. But that's 2 straight years, and if I got my math right, that's 3 out of the last 4 years we haven't made the postseason. I may be wrong about that. I know we haven't been for the last 2 years, and I told somebody today. We have standards here in Nashville, and when it comes to the Predators, and one of those standards is you make the postseason, period. There's no reason why we should not be there most years, and I just hope whoever the new GM is, he does the right thing, which is bring in a new coach, maybe. I'm kind of torn on that one myself, but, we just – For what season tickets cost, I expect better. That's what I'm trying to say. I expect better. Fix my hockey team. That's all I got on that. As for Dave McGinnis, certainly a complete shock last night at dinner before the game with a friend, and I see that on my phone. Yeah. I had no idea he was sick. I did not know. It just kind of threw me for a loop because I only met him one time. I crossed paths with him one time, and that was, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe at a Titans training camp practice. And what struck me about him was he treated me like he knew me and had known me for years. That man had never seen me a day in his life, and I'd never met him either, And we talked for about 10 minutes like we'd known each other for 10 years. And just about football, really. And I told him how much I enjoyed listening to him on the air. And then I knew the Titans game day broadcast engineer. He was a good friend of mine. And I said, he tells me he always has to have the button on the dump switch there, Coach. I said, what about that? And he goes, he says, I won't deny it. He looked at me and just grinned and said, I won't deny that. So I never knew what he was going to say on the air. And I just really enjoyed listening to him on the air, you know, on the just especially on the game day or, you know, you just, he told it like it was. And, you know, I only wish I'd gotten to be around that man more because just a great guy. He is Terry Crisp. He really is. And I know Crispy, you know, pretty well. And we talk quite a bit when I see him. But just, yeah, Dave McInnes, definitely a model of out the same boat as Terry Crisp. But, and Kelly, one other thing real quick. I feel your pain about Chattanooga and Atlanta. I did it this past weekend.
It's awful. You know, Frank, it's awful, man. I can't even explain it to people.
But I'm going to tell you what, while crawling through Chattanooga last Friday at about a mere 20 miles an hour, right before you get downtown, pressed where all the railroad and scrapyard is.
Oh, yeah.
If there's not a brand new minor league baseball park for the Chattanooga Lookouts on the right, looks like
Erlanger Park,
railroad. Yeah, I never had noticed that until yesterday. Or no, I'm sorry, Friday. Driving to Atlanta, I'm like, when did they build this? You know,
I've been watching that. I've been watching that being built. I was interested the other day because we hadn't been there in like a month or so, and I was interested in how, you know, how much they've done. But I think they're going to make that whole deal where the shipping port was. I think they're going to make that a whole shopping mall. It's going to be cool.
Oh, is that right? See, because I need to get with some friends by Chattanooga to find out what exactly they're going to do, because I'm sure they're going to try and turn it into, something like you just said, or a restaurant and bar type area. But, you know, they have a nice ballpark in downtown Chattanooga that they played in for years by the aquarium. You know, everybody wants the latest and greatest, but George, I didn't know if you knew about that or not. Well, I don't know if were you aware Chattanooga was getting a new ballpark?
Yeah, I knew about it, but I haven't seen it.
It's nice.
You have seen it.
It was really nice.
Maybe I need to stop by there during one of my hour-and-a-half delays through Chattanooga. It's such a lovely place to get stuck.
Right.
I got to run, but thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, yes. The drive to Atlanta.
It's wonderful.
It will raise your blood pressure.
Whew.
So will this.
Oh.
He missed a
George,
pick.
you lost one.
It
You
doesn't
lost
bring
one.
me any joy, though, because it was at the expense of the Preds season.
Yeah. You know, I was disappointed. Well, first of all, it was hard last night because the whole night I kept thinking about Dave and people would bring him up. It was just, it was a tough night at the old ball yard. Here's what we got tonight. I'm taking the Bravos at a pretty decent line of minus 135 against the Marlins. Tomorrow, Mike Organ will join us. So will others who have not yet been identified. For Kelly Holcomb, who needs a little more of Dave McInnes. For Parker Kelly, George Plaster, see you tomorrow.
Hey, Nashville, get ready to feel the impact. The Nashville Smash are